Arnold.
All right, it's the Dean Arnold podcast today. It is August 16th. It is someday, some certain day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm not going to tell you which day it is for reasons, but it is August 16th. I can tell you that. And yeah, so we'll get on with our August 16th day. And today we're going to talk about a light topic. Probably won't be too long either. We're going to talk about sleep. Sleep, the unconscious world of sleep, and how sleep was in some ways very different a couple hundred years ago. A lot of things changed in a couple hundred years. We've gotten modern, and it hasn't necessarily been better. But I mean, there's a lot of better things, but a lot of things aren't better. But yeah, we'll talk about it. And sleep used to be different. It happened in two stages until about 200 years ago. And I'm going to explain that to you, and we're just going to ruminate on that for a bit. We got some interesting scriptures on the calendar today, so we will go there first. I'm running for Congress. DeanArnoldForCongress.com is where you go to give. And like, share, subscribe on this podcast. Questions and comments, always appreciated. I'm bringing sanity to an insane world where you sleep all night, never get up. Sanity to an insane world. All right. Before I hit the scriptures, let's have some Fear the Beard. Okay, we are rocking and rolling here on the Dean Arnold podcast, and let's go ahead and go to our scriptures of the day. Is that it? I think it is. Nice. Okay, we're going to start in 1 Corinthians. There's some interesting verses today. Can't read the whole thing, but Paul is getting to this whole thing about how, you need to pay the pastors. Verse 7, does anyone go to war at his own expense? Who plants a vineyard and does not eat its fruit? Who tends a flock and does not drink of the milk? So if a guy is preaching to his flock, you need to feed him from the community assets. But here's the interesting part, verse 9. For it is written in the law of Moses, you shall not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain. Okay. Is it oxen that God is concerned about? No, he says he's talking about paying pastors. Well, this verse is in Deuteronomy 24, and it's just various laws, this, that, and the other about if a man slays another man, you got to do this, and do not muzzle the ox while it's treading out the grain, and this, that, and the other. Just, pretty pedestrian kind of laws. You would never get out of it, pay the pastors from Deuteronomy. But that's what Paul got out of it. So what you got here is, this is ancient stuff, and you got an oxen, a bull, cow, whatever, is tromping on grain, which separates the husk from the fruit of the grain. And he's in there tromping on them and doing that. And Paul's saying, while the bull is doing that, don't put a muzzle on him so he can't eat a little bit of the fruit here and there, a little bit of the grain here and there. No, let him eat a little bit while he's doing his work. And, you could use this for, workers' rights, they ought to get a decent share of the profits and that sort of thing. And Paul gets out of it, pay pastors. Okay, that's fine. What I get out of it is, man, interpreting the Old Testament is It's kind of a kaleidoscope. I mean, it's wide open. Do not muzzle an ox while it's trading out the grain means make sure you pay your pastor. That's what Paul says right here in 1 Corinthians. So every Old Testament verse, every strange law, don't mix this thread with that thread, and don't don't cook a goat in its mother's milk, and there's all sorts of stuff. Well, there's very interesting interpretations and ways to fulfill that, and we got a long way to go to understanding the Old Testament. And if you think you can understand the Old Testament and how to interpret all the scriptures on your own, you're nuts. Thankfully, we have the church fathers who have gone before us and done all this work. So you have that. Anyway, interesting verse, I think. Let's go to the next epistle. There's 2 epistles on the calendar today. Okay, Colossians. And he's going on about this, that, and the other, and he's talking about Christ. We got forgiveness of sins through him. Verse 15 right there. He, Christ, is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Okay. Well, what do we know about images? Well, we know the second commandment is don't bow down and worship any image. No images do we worship. Well, here's an image we worship. Christ is the image of the invisible God. So big things happened with the new covenant. That shouldn't surprise you. It's the new covenant. In the old covenant, certain things are old. Well, one of them is this commandment that says never bow down and worship any image. No, we actually do bow down and worship an image now, and that image is Jesus Christ himself. He is an image. He is a formed design, who is the image of God himself. So, hey, heavy stuff, I think. Let's talk about this for a minute. He is the image of the invisible God. Guess what? Let's see if I can bring it up here. Let's go. Oh, yeah, there it is. So if you go to what's called an interlinear Bible, which kind of gives you the Greek and the English at the same time, and the red is the English down there. See it? Who is the image of the God invisible? And just above that red is the Greek. Os estiv icon tu theo tu athratu. I probably butchered that, but whatever. But that's not what's important. What's important is the third Greek word there. Icon, image, icon. Look above it is the English transliteration, they call it. Icon, E-I-K-O-N, icon. Of course, in our language of English, we use I-C-O-N, icon, for icon. Image, icon. We bow down and worship this icon of God, Jesus Christ. Now, the actual wooden icon that's painted, that's a different thing in the sense that it is a window to heaven. It reminds us of the true icon. So we're not bowing down and worshiping the wooden painted object. We're bowing down and worshiping what it represents, who is Christ himself, who is the icon of God himself. Icon. Yeah, there you go. There's another thing. You can get this stuff from Bible Hub, but here's the lexicon. Okay. So the lexicon will tell you the original word is icon. It's a noun. It's feminine, which is interesting. Its transliteration is icon. And this is the Greek word in Colossians. Okay. Just worth noting there. Okay, let's go back to the scripture. Can I bring it up? Can I not? Yeah. Okay. Gospel of the day. It's going to be Luke. And now it came time for him to receive up. He steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem. Okay, we just finished the Mount of Transfiguration. These guys have seen the glory of Jesus Christ, James, John, and Peter. No one else has ever seen it since then, before, or since. And Jesus is talking to Moses and Elijah himself about going up to Jerusalem and suffering and dying. They're heading to Jerusalem, and they got to go through a village in Samaria. So they sent some messengers ahead, and the villagers say, if you're going to Jerusalem, we hate Jerusalem, and we're not going to receive you here in this village. So you have to go another route. Well, James and John, when they hear this, they are ticked. And they go to him as sons of thunder, and they say, you want us to command fire to come down from heaven like Elijah did? Jesus turns and rebukes them, and he says, you do not know what manner of spirit you are of. That's verse 55. For the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. So James and John, they still don't get it. They're at the mountains of Transfiguration. They hear Moses, Elijah talking to Jesus about going to Jerusalem and suffering and dying. And then when it comes time to deal with this Samaritan village that won't receive Jesus, they still want to do the old covenant Elijah and bring down fire from heaven like Elijah used to do against the enemies and kill them all. And Jesus is just shaking his head. You don't get it. You don't get it. We got a new thing going on here. It's not the old thing. Well, they were good Israelites, and the Pharisees and Israelites of their day weren't too far off, and the Pharisees and Israelites of now aren't too far off. They still think the same way about, as the old fiery old covenant Elijah. Bring down fire from heaven and kill everybody. That is the solution to all problems. And Jesus says, no, I have a different way of doing things now. You guys just don't get it. So he turns to his disciples and said, blessed are your eyes who see such things, because there was many prophets who wanted to see it and they did not see it. So this whole new realm, new covenant, new aeon of Jesus Christ is a whole new thing, and they are so blessed to see it, even though while they're seeing it, they're not getting it. So gotta love it, huh? Okay. That's the scriptures of the day, which I find to be pretty darn interesting. Let's get to the saint of the day. The saint of the day is not that sensational. It'll be pretty quick. But it's a good reminder. Holy unmercenary physician Diomedes. It's not that great of a story, but I've chose it just to remind us that there's such a thing as doctors who aren't greedy for money, who are actually trying to heal people, and they don't factor money in the process of what is going to be involved in the healing process. So this guy, Diomedes, he studied the medical arts. His scientific knowledge did not make him proud, but he retained the piety which his parents raised him in. He spoke to people about the kingdom of God and healed those who needed healing. And he practiced his medical profession charitably and without charge. He also treated their souls. He healed the sick in Nicaea. Diocletian, a great persecutor of Christians, heard about his activities. He was reported to the emperor, who ordered his arrest. But before he could be arrested, God called him to himself, and the soldiers found him dead already. And so they went ahead and beheaded him, just to make sure the emperor knew that they were doing their job. And for some reason, the emperor commanded them to take the head back and place it with the body. So Diomedes, good man, doctor who's not greedy for money. May we have more. But it's a good reminder, Diomedes. Okay. We've done our saint. We've done our scriptures. Let's get into the topic of the day, which is sleep. Okay. Sleep is an interesting thing. You don't think about it too much until you have a hard time sleeping. then you're thinking a lot about sleep. And I usually sleep pretty well, so it's not really my big bailiwick. But I got sick about 4 days ago. I'm fairly much on the mend today, which is nice. But I had 3 nights in a row where I had a hard time sleeping, and I thought a lot about sleep. And sleep is a bit of an equalizer. There's a proverb that says a poor man, because he's working hard in the field all day and kind of, he has a nice long sleep. But the rich man's up all night worrying about where his money's going to go. So sleep is kind of an equalizer because 1/3 of your life is sleep. I did a post a while back on Facebook where I said, I did the calculation. I think 19 years of my life has been spent sleeping. So it's a big part of what we do. And this rich man, 1/3 of his life is hell. Even though the poor man, he's just sleeping good. So sleep is interesting in that way. It's very unconscious. You got dreams and you got visions and you got a whole netherworld and underworld that kind of comes up at night. And the whole sleep nighttime thing is a mysterious kind of world. We probably have a lot to learn about it. A lot of scientists are studying sleep and trying to get a little more interested in it. Well, this gets us to the next part of I got a friend, by the way, lives on Lookout Mountain. Great guy. And he's fascinated with sleep. He's always been fascinated with sleep. And he talks about it a lot. Anyway, speaking of scientists, so there was some scientists have discovered a phenomenon that we did not know about until about 30 years ago. This happened because somebody was doing research on like court cases in the Middle Ages or something. And there was some murder that happened at like 2 a.m. And this woman who was testifying about it talked about how it happened right after first sleep. And so this guy who's doing the research, he's like, first sleep? Well, what are you talking about? And he started looking around and he found a whole lot of mentions about first sleep and second sleep. And then people started doing a whole lot more research, and they found references to this first sleep and second sleep. Basically, what they would say is they go to bed at dark, or even later, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock. They wake up at 1, stay up till 3, and then sleep again from like 3 to 7, 3 to 6, 3 to 7. First sleep and second sleep. They found references to it in Chaucer, in the Odyssey. It's kind of all through the scriptures. David talks about the watch of the night, and monastics have done a prayer called the Midnight Office and other prayers that happen in the middle of the night. At first maybe we just thought it was because monastics are incredible soldiers and they just decided to forego sleep for an hour in the middle of the night. But it turns out maybe that actually everybody was doing that, but the monks just decided they'd pray. So there's first sleep and second sleep. I got a couple of images just to help us out here. There's some girls getting up in the middle of the night with their candle. Another image here is a woman who decides to use the time praying. But people would do chores. They'd milk the cows. They'd sweep the floor. They'd write letters and journals and that sort of thing. Of course, they'd read. They'd stoke the fire, all that kind of thing. The sexual relations was a big thing. Husband and wife both be exhausted. They go to bed for 2-3 hours. They'd have some renewed energy, and there's nothing to do for an hour or two when they're up in the night. And a lot of babies were made, and they made a lot of babies back then. Good for them. So, up until a couple hundred years ago, first sleep and second sleep was just a known thing. It was just like taken for granted. It's like, it's what we do. Who knew? Why did it end? Pretty simple reason. Fake light. So if it gets dark at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, About an hour after that, you're ready to go to bed, go to sleep. And most people aren't going to sleep for 12 hours. I might. But, so they get up at 1, they tool around for an hour or two. They sleep from 3 to 7. And when it gets light again. So when artificial light allowed you to just easily stay up till 10, 11, 12 at night, and then get up at 6 in the morning if you need to, it just changed the whole way we work and think, and our whole rhythm. And circadian, is that what they call it? Circadian rhythms. But, we don't do 2 sleeps anymore. We do 1. What's the purpose of this? What's the practicality of learning this? Well, it's just another nugget in terms of understanding how the ancients thought. And usually the ancients are smarter than we are. Another practical tip is, if you have insomnia in the middle of the night, don't get all agitated. Just like, this is in between my first and second sleep. So just use it as a time to do some practical things, then go back to bed a little later. I do that once in a while, but unfortunately my practical activity is to surf. So surf the internet. But that's okay. But this is the lighthearted but interesting little topic that I wanted to share with you today. And I think I successfully did it. So we have had our subject. No comments or questions today. It's not really very titillating topic, but it's still something interesting. You think about that. And I think I've shared everything I want to share today. Y'all have been an excellent audience. And I think I am cutting out.
Dean Arnold.
August 16th. Sanity to an Insane World. Like, share, subscribe. DeanArnoldForCongress.com. Thanks, guys.